Hey everyone, Mike here today with some final thoughts here on 2-Point Hospital. So I've nearly completed the game. I've got one or two hospitals left that I've not played through yet, but at this point in time, I've played through more than enough the game to know how it's going to go, especially since the last, I don't know, dozen or so levels have been more of the same. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. So for starters here, I've done a previous video on the gameplay side of things. If you're interested in seeing more of how this game plays, go check out that video. But for this one, we'll keep it short and give you some overall thoughts after having playing this 20-30 plus hours at this point. But anyways, this is the Game Pass version. I'm playing on PC. The first two DLC packs were also, I think they're free or they're included or something, while the next 4 mission packs are not included, and the 3 other extra content packs are not there either. So if I had this on Steam, I would definitely consider buying the DLC. I actually do have it on Steam. I didn't realize that until having sunk in so many hours on the Game Pass version. So unless I can find a way to transfer the save file, I don't feel like restarting on Steam to play the DLC, of course. But yeah, I think I already showed this, the first 3 levels, and the next 3, and the next 3, and 3 more here. It's potentially 3 more here, but I don't see them yet, so I might have to finish these 3 first. But yeah, you got DLC there. These 2 are also DLC. This is also DLC. This is DLC, but this is the DLC that I have. And finally, more DLC. So I think the add-ons have been pretty good so far, so I don't have any complaints about that. But yeah, on the positive side of things, I've talked about it before, how this game does a pretty good job ramping up difficulty and by slowly introducing you new mechanics and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, no specific complaints there. I like the build up. I like the ramp up for the first couple of levels. How it's very easy, casual, and then it feels like every second hospital will introduce a new disease that you have to treat within your specialty room of sorts. So in this case here we have what is it called again? Oh yeah, we have patients with blank look, and we have to build a identification room to help them out with that. So a lot of the stuff in this game has been really silly. We covered some of it as well. A head office because they've got turtle heads. So you gotta pop their heads back out of their turtlenecks and things that are kind of silly. Shock clinic is they've been struck by lightning kind of deal. Resolution lab. Ah, there you go. This person feels lightheaded because they have a light as a head. And we have a deluxe clinic. Because, Lux light makes sense, right? So there's a lot of like silly funny things like that they've thrown around in here, and yeah, it makes it very casual and fun and laid back. It's not one of those difficult or challenging kind of sim games. This one's pretty fun and relaxed. And so I've played this game a lot, just watching other videos and kind of keeping this running kind of on the side. It's not something you have to pay full attention to at all times. And yeah, for the most part, there's a couple levels that actually have an explicit like failure state, but for the most part, my experience has been that most of these hospitals will allow you to do whatever you want. You don't necessarily have to Fool's Mold from Fake Jewelry and Magic Beans. So, yeah, a lot of just silly illnesses. Yes, heat wave. Also known as probably a sunburn. Yeah, I guess I had to start throwing in the negative side of things because, you know, it's a good game. I like what they've done with it. I don't have any real complaints. However, the problems I do have, it's a little bit like on the scaling side of things. You know, as you scale up to bigger and bigger hospitals, yeah, I'm gonna outgrow this one very soon. So I've got a bunch of plots of land I can purchase and expand into. This one in particular is crazy. It's got like 16 in total. So there's a lot of these small huts that will become single room things. So I'm not sure how useful that'll be, but
checking the 2 Point Health Service website,
yeah,
it suggests I might be suffering from a bout of bubonic death clog. If you don't,
let's kind of back out here and actually show a bigger one. But yeah, the problem I have is when you start getting into really big hospitals, game, it's not very difficult, but at the same time, it can be a little slightly frustrating and annoying to deal with. So yeah, the performance, I don't know, you might not notice it as much as I am, but the frame rate definitely dips to the point where my G-Sync monitor isn't quite keeping up. So that's not great. What's the other thing? Yeah, so I have no doctors in training. Let's see here. I'm still lacking doctors. Okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 more rooms. So that's been a problem. It's just like you copy paste rooms quite often to keep up with the amount of people, and then it's just like, man, the amount of people I gotta keep hiring as well becomes a problem. So there are a couple things like that. I wish there's like a count of how many rooms that require doctors. Because the other thing too is they don't necessarily have to be populated at all times, right? If no one's queuing up, then you might have a doctor that'll go somewhere else. But you run into the problem of like, hey, there are aspects I want to avoid when I'm hiring, and when I look here, it's like, well, yeah, litter, okay, fine, that's fine. Grumpy, unhygienic, that's like double negatives. I don't really want that. Weak bladder, okay, fine. Hangry, unmotivated, that's like a double. I don't want that. I don't want that. So it could be a little bit tough, and then you gotta wait a little bit to hire, and so you can kind of get yourself into some tough situations. There's also stuff like this where, you know, vending machines, people are queuing up for that. You got people queuing up to get into a room. So you got a bit of a traffic jam here. It's not too bad, but it can be a little bit of a problem. Yeah, this person here, I guess the door opened on them once and they got jammed. So if I just drop them, sometimes they'll figure it out. Sometimes. So yeah, there's little problems like that with larger hospitals that start becoming a bit of an issue. And then you got these people with, you know, low health because they've been here for so long, and so I've had a bit of a tough time dealing with some of these bigger hospitals, because on one hand it's like, hey, I want to keep all the similar rooms together, But that's not very smart, right? Because they come to the general practitioner, they go off to diagnose, they might come back, they go off to some other diagnosis room, then they walk back, and so you almost want clusters of rooms. You know, the general practitioner, the general diagnosis, cardiology, maybe a ward, and maybe a psychiatry. You want kind of a ratio of maybe three general practitioners and then one of each clustered together, and that might be the way to do it. I'm not too sure yet. I'd have to try it out, I guess. So I've tried doing it before, and then the other problem you run into is like trying to shuffle everything around to make room to make it happen. Because they're different sized rooms. Like when you have all the same rooms together, hey, you can very easily have stuff together. But then when you get into this situation, it's not too bad. But when you have smaller hospitals or rooms, it can be a little bit tough to juggle all that stuff. And so yeah, there's also no way for me to like micromanage staff a little bit more to help with the efficiency. I could say what kind of room they're allowed to work in. I can't tell them to maybe prioritize the rooms based on their qualifications. I don't know if they actually do that. But it doesn't seem like they do. I also can't tell them to, hey, stick in these two buildings. Don't go elsewhere. I need you in these two buildings and nowhere else. So, not ideal, but not the end of the world. And I think the only other, again, not a huge problem, but there's like a multiplayer aspect. This seems to be moving forward on its own a little bit. It's taking its sweet time doing so, but yeah, there's some extra things I can unlock. Except if I don't invite anyone. I don't know anyone I could invite who's actively playing this game on the Xbox Live stuff. So it's like, I can't really get some of these multiplayer. Not that it matters much, right? I've got a whole list of in-game items I've never bought. Or I've never unlocked with the in-game currency, even though I've more than enough to buy everything, I think. Yeah, just more items to help you out a little bit and give you various bonuses and stuff, which I might have to play around with a little bit more, but I've never felt the need to, so that's why I've never unlocked anything, because it's just one of those things of like, it's there. I've used it a couple times for a couple things, but I've never bothered spending much more than that. But yeah, that's 2 Point Hospital in a nutshell. I think it's a phenomenal game. It's really, really fun. I don't think it's for anyone necessarily. If you're looking at this and you're like, oh yeah, this might be something I'm into, then yes, you'll find this pretty decent. You'll probably have the same complaints I have, where as you get into the later game, the game seems to have a little bit of a scaling problem, and it's a little tough to deal with because you don't necessarily have all the control and tools required to deal with it. But other than that, yeah, it's a nice casual game. It's pretty enjoyable. So I think we'll end it here. I'm curious to see how 2 Point Campus will be. I know they announced it. I think they announced it around the same time this came out on Game Pass. So, nice, probably 2-for-1 deal there with Microsoft. And we'll see how that game does. Will they improve on a lot of the shortcomings this game has? It'll be interesting to find out. But at the very least, all the stuff I'm seeing with the different DLC packs tells me that they kind of know what they're doing, and they're not afraid to add a lot of new content and mechanics behind those levels. So that's been pretty fun to see, even though I've only played one of them. I've looked at the other ones a little bit, and they seem pretty good. So anyways, 15-minute mark. This is longer than I wanted to make this, so we'll end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.